Most people our age or sometimes even older, they don't know what they love.
People are asking me to photograph their weddings. I've never done that before. First wedding that I shot, I was like, this is what you do at work?
Wow.
This is amazing. Everyone's so happy, joyous. There's fashion, there's floral, there's elegance, there's design, there's love, there's legacy. I drove from California in my Mini Cooper with my French Bulldog. Hey God, you brought me here. Family was like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna do weddings. I'll be totally transparent. I was broke. I had 30 days to pay rent. What are you gonna do? Fast forward to today, to bring all of my passions and marry that with real passion for family legacy. There is so much power in documenting that.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and besides of being recently married, I own the leading company in bouquet preservation in the world. It is when connecting with my clients that I felt the need to serve them and help them navigate this new and exciting journey. On this podcast, we bring you everything you need to know to plan the wedding of your dreams. We'll be featuring conversations with top wedding vendors and valuable tips and advice from real couples. Whether you're engaged or simply love, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get started on this journey to your perfect wedding day. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club.
Welcome back to another episode of Bridal Club. I have here Randi Michelle, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with you. I would love for you to tell our audience who you are and how you started this journey.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with another entrepreneur who is in the preservation of memories. As myself, photo and cinema, it's very important that we preserve memories for our clients, and you're doing the same thing. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Well, my name is Randi. I'm the owner of Randi Michelle Photo and Cinema. My journey pretty much started from childhood. As a kid, I loved photography. I was obsessed with fashion photography, specifically European fashion photography. And I don't know if you remember this, but their magazines are a lot bigger than ours in the States. They're huge. And if you were to go into my childhood bedroom, plastered with fashion magazines, I would beg my mom to take me to the Barnes and Noble just for that section. And I just loved it. So it really started as a kid, and I always forced my friends to play dress up. I would do their hair and makeup, and I would force them to model for me. So the interest really started as a young girl, and it's really impactful to see how that has carried through my life and the other experiences that I've had that have led me to being in the wedding industry and being a wedding photographer and cinematographer, and how literally every experience in my life has come together to where it's exactly what I do on wedding day. So
how lucky, because ultimately most people our age or even sometimes even older, they don't know what they love.
And to be totally transparent, that's something that I have to pinch myself when I think about, because you're right. A lot of people, they've done the right things. They've gone to school, they've gotten the degree, they're in a 9-to-5, they're on the hamster wheel. And I've known from a young age that I wanted to do something that meant something, that was impactful. And have I had those jobs where it was a 9-to-5 and I was just doing it for the paycheck? Of course, but I never felt fulfilled. And in this job, it doesn't feel like I'm working, and I know that it's making a difference in people's families' lives and their legacies that they're building together. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy, so I find myself very fortunate in that sense. Yes.
Super fortunate, and I love how passionate you are as well for everything that you're doing, and I love that so much about you. I'm talking to you and I'm looking at you and you're like shining, talking about your business, and that is so crucial. Tell me how you went from loving this as a child to actually becoming a wedding photographer.
So let's see. I, again, was taking photos throughout my whole life. Friends, whether they wanted it or not, I was forcing them to do photo shoots with me. It really started in college. That's when I took my first real photography class, my first and only real photography class, if I'm being honest. It was a photojournalism class, and I begged my mom to invest in a camera for me. And she did. It was a starter kit camera, but it was my first real camera. I mean, I grew up on Polaroids. You send it in, you get it back 7 days later,
yeah.
and you got the pack of images and you're so excited.
Like the young people would never understand.
Well, yes, but they kind of do now. I mean, they
do?
have them, during reception, they've got the disposable
yes,
cameras.
that's correct.
But that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
And so it's very nostalgic. I hope I'm not aging myself here, but that was my childhood. So again, with that photojournalism class and that first digital camera that I had, it unlocked everything for me. It wasn't another few years before I experienced my first wedding. Again, as a child, I loved fashion photography, right? So there's an element of clothing and fashion that I really love. And in high school and college, I used to doodle wedding gowns. So I thought as soon as I graduated college, I was going to New York and I was going to be a fashion designer.
That was my dream too.
Was that your dream too?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I went to New York and I decided I didn't like it. I'm originally from Southern California, so I think there's definitely more of a beach girl in me than there is a New York girl. So
it's very different.
It is very different. So I realized at that time that wasn't going to be what I was going to do. So instead I opened up an online clothing boutique.
Wow.
And it was then when I started to really hone in on my craft. I did not have the budget to hire a professional photographer to shoot all of the products. And this was a clothing and accessory line. And so I taught myself how to do product photography. I did all of the marketing campaigns. I built my website. I got all of the products loaded onto the website. I was fulfilling orders. I was going into LA to market to purchase garments and accessories. Something that I also taught myself, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But it was my first real experience in doing, all the things, wearing all the hats in a business. Before I knew it, I had friends asking for engagement sessions or family portrait sessions.
Okay.
And I did them, and then it was friends of friends, and then friends of friends of friends. And before I knew it, people were asking me to shoot weddings, which, to be honest, was very intimidating, and I said no quite often. And one day I was like, a lot of people are starting to ask me about this. Maybe it's something I should dive into. And this is where I need to give a lot of credit to Jim Kennedy Photography out of Southern California, where I'm from, Orange County. He is there as a wedding photographer and has a team, and he actually shot my sister's wedding.
Oh, wow.
So I reached out to Jim. I said, hey, people are asking me to photograph their weddings. I've never done that before. Would you teach me?
That's incredible.
Granted, I didn't know. If you talk to wedding vendors, it's either you love weddings or you hate them. So I didn't know which way I would lean. And the first wedding that I shot with him, I was like the fourth shooter.
Yeah.
I was carrying bags, carrying water. I had my little kit camera, that I was using to shoot my product photography. I was just a kid in a candy store. I was like, this is what you do at work?
Wow.
This is amazing. Everyone's so happy and joyous, and there's fashion, there's floral, there's elegance, there's design, there's love, there's legacy.
Aww.
And to bring all of my passions and marry that with real passion for family and family legacy, it was like a lightning bulb went off for me, because there is so much power in documenting that. So that's why I feel so grateful to do what I do, because of course it incorporates my natural passions and the gifts God has given me, but also leaves such a lasting impact.
Years are going to go by, and every single time that this couple glances at their photos, they're going to think of you, and not only you and the beautiful images that you created for them, but then also how you made them feel.
Growing up, of course, in our own family homes, and I'm sure in yours as well, we see family photos, we see wedding photos, and there is a specific portrait, I should say, framed print, if you will, that has been in my grandparents' home my entire life. And I grew up looking at this portrait, and I've always loved it. It's my grandparents in the back of this older car, and they're looking through the back window as they're leaving on their wedding day. And the look on their faces is just beautiful and pure happiness. And I now have that portrait in my home. And so I think about that on wedding day, and that's how I approach wedding day. And with my team is to think, yes, there's a lot going on in this moment right now, and there's so many things that we need to do, but that one picture that captures that emotion is going to be in someone's home for much longer
Yes.
than they're even here.
I love that. Something that I say a lot to my brides, obviously we do flower preservation, is that people will have 3 things from their wedding day that they're going to see every single day for the rest of their lives. Like only 3 things. Again, every single day, because of course you're going to have an album, and of course you're going to have, maybe napkins or something that you can go back and look. But number 1, their wedding bands. Number 2, some wedding photos, because you're not going to hang your whole album. And then your flower preservation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a win-win right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the fact that you started saying that we do create things that are lasting pieces of art, truly, whether that is with photos or preserved flowers. I would love for you to talk to us about the fact that you're from California and now you moved to Texas. How have you been able to shift your mindset and be able to capture weddings here and everywhere else?
That is an excellent question, because each region, each area has very different style. So in Orange County, where I'm from, everything is done outside. Then here in Texas, everything's like a chapel wedding, receptions inside, cocktail hour maybe inside as well, depending on weather. So it is very different in that sense. And here in Texas, again, lots of chapel weddings where that is just not a thing in California.
Right.
So I think as a professional, just being able to walk into any setting and capture the realness of it, which yes, it's the environment, but it's the emotion. That's really what I'm there to do. So I just kind of go with whatever the environment is and capture it that way. But my journey from California to Texas is very unique. I did not come here for weddings, actually. I was in California starting to shoot weddings. I had done a few weddings with Jim Kennedy, like I mentioned earlier. And again, that's when it all clicked and I started accepting weddings. But I actually moved to Texas for a director of marketing position with a startup company. So I moved here and I was flying back and forth between here and California for my California weddings. Wasn't even marketing myself here yet because I took on this job here in Texas. And I was with them for about a year, if I remember correctly. And I kind of started to see the writing on the walls. Again, it was a startup and it just was no longer a good fit for me. And I had uprooted my whole life. I drove from California in my Mini Cooper with my French Bulldog, packed down with as many clothes as I could possibly fit. And I remember just being like, okay, God, you brought me here. So what's the plan?
Wow.
And at that time, my family was like, okay, so you're going to come back to California, right?
Right.
And I said, no.
What year is this?
This was 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not coming back. And they're like, okay, great. Well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to do weddings. They're like, okay, how are you going to do that? I'm like, well, I don't really know, but I'm going to figure it out. And at the time, I'll be totally transparent. I was broke. I had one camera body, 2 lenses with a big dream, and I was going to make it happen no matter what.
Yeah.
And I did. I lived in a small apartment in the Fort Worth side, in Keller specifically. And I remember I told myself, okay, Randi, everyone's not rooting against me, but didn't have the faith in me. And you have 30 days to pay rent. So what are you going to do? And I hit my ground running on social media. Fast forward to today, I am no longer broke. I am very fulfilled in what I do. I love what I do.
That's amazing.
I'm not in survival mode.
Now you have a team of 6.
Yes, it has been quite an impactful few years, that's for sure. Yes.
Wow, you should be so proud.
Thank you. I am. And I couldn't do it without my team as well. I prayed so hard along the journey, and I still do. And I really believe in the power of prayer. Anytime I've needed something in my business, whether it was, another cinematographer, I prayed about that and someone would show up and it would just click and make sense. And so that's where we are.
Yes.
But,
I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of cinematography, let's talk about that, because I know you say that, of course, you're capturing the photos, but then you also love to capture the sound. I want to know what that means to you.
Yes. So photography, obviously, number one, those frozen portraits of a moment that just is so powerful. But cinema, I always tell my couples, transforms that portrait. So in years to come, when you want to listen to your dad give a speech at your wedding and tell you how much he loves you and how much he wishes wonderful things for your marriage and the family that you're building, you want to hear his voice. You want to see that emotion unfold. And you can only do that through our cinema. That being said, I also tell couples you can't go back and get that. So
Right.
yes. And to me, it was a natural evolution. I started with just photography. And then about 6 years ago, video started to become a really big thing. And I started working with a lot of other videographers, and their work was good. It didn't look anything like the portraits that I would deliver. And I felt that there was an opportunity there where I could train some videographers in my vision, the editing style. That way couples really have a cohesive delivery of portraits and cinema films.
I love that.
Oftentimes videographers, their editing style is, completely different than the photographer, and it can look like 2 different days. There's a lot of intention that goes behind planning a wedding day when we're doing both photo and cinema, and it just really ensures a very stress-free, seamless experience for the couple and families.
I bet.
Yeah.
So I did have a videographer for my wedding. My brother didn't, and honestly, he just didn't want to spend the money because he was like, photos, absolutely, this, that, but video was kind of like the last thing that he decided to cut it. He deeply regrets it. Yes. And so my aunt, actually, she just had her phone and she started filming, and that video from her iPhone, this is like 10 years ago, by the way. So that blurry video, and they love that video.
Imagine if it was in 4K.
I know.
Or
Right.
8K, which is now available as well. Like you said, he wished that he had it. No, when I talk to couples, of course, there's budget and things that are important when they're making decisions, but again, you can't go back and change that. So
Yes.
and everyone in your films won't always be here either. So to be able to look back on those is really impactful.
Right. I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about your team. You have a team of 6.
Yes.
And whenever you do weddings with video and of course photos, you get 4 people at the weddings, correct? Tell me how that helps you make sure that you're getting like every single important part of a wedding that a normal photographer may oversee.
Yeah, great question. First and foremost, I will say whenever I am working on a business idea or thinking through the structure of wedding day, I don't look at any other photographers or videographers. I think through the client's experience and how I will be able to capture everything all at once without making it feel like my couples are part of a production. And since we do both photo and cinema, it's very likely that could be the scenario, right? So on wedding day, there are 4 of us. I am the lead photographer. I always have a second photographer that's included, and 2 cinematographers. And we've created a day of flow that allows us to capture both portraits and cinema at the same time, where we don't have to stop and say, okay, I've got my portrait, cinema, why don't you step in? It's all happening simultaneously, which again really allows the couples to just be in the moment and not be like, okay, there's a lot of people here, what's going on? So that's really important to me. And having the team and having those pre-wedding meetings with them and that overall flow really allows us to capture everything beautifully and without interfering with the couple's real raw emotion.
Tell me a little bit more about the importance of having a second photographer at the wedding, because I don't think a lot of people realize how one single photographer may be able to miss a few things.
Logistically speaking, and for safety purposes, there should always be a second photographer. If for some reason I was walking backwards and taking portraits and I slipped on a boulder and fell and rolled my ankle and I couldn't shoot anymore that day, well, if you don't have a second shooter, what are you going to do then? That is why a second photographer is always included. I know there are other companies who don't, and it's an add-on. To me, it's a liability not to have a second shooter, first and foremost. But then, of course, all those second angles is where the magic happens. So I always tell my second shooters, keep your head on a swivel, is what I say, because I am facing the couple or what's happening right in front of me. And I call them more the safe shots, the more planned shots of the couple. But there's so much more going on in that moment. There's family around talking to each other. The flower girl sitting on the ground picking at grass, or, anything at all could be happening. And I want to make sure that our team is documenting that, because that is typically very raw emotion and real emotion. And that's what my second shooters are for. And I tell them to keep their head on a swivel. So they're not only getting secondary angles of what we're shooting, but they're also able to document things that I'm just not able to because I'm instructing in front of me.
Something that I cannot remember from my own wedding. I think we did have two photographers, but I think I didn't necessarily thought that I needed photos of the guests. I was like, I mean, obviously it's about my family and of course my husband and I, right? But then I love looking at those expressions that I missed because I wasn't there looking, because I was looking at my husband and I didn't get to see a lot of the things that happened. I missed it. And then the photos and the video gives me that experience. I'm kind of like picturing how they lived that day by looking at those photos. So
exactly.
yeah.
Just another reason why everyone should always have a second photographer.
Yes, I agree.
And there are portions of wedding day that I'm not there. For example, during family portraits, I'm with the couple's, immediate family, but there's a whole cocktail hour happening with all of your guests that are, like you mentioned, just as important as your family.
It's kind of like a different perspective from a different lens. I want to talk to you about your turnaround. We were actually talking a little bit about that earlier. My sister, for instance, she got married in Mexico. She didn't receive her photos until almost 6 months later. Like all her whole gallery. So
that breaks my heart.
Yeah, I mean, she got a few in the beginning, but then she didn't get to see everything until a lot later.
Our turnaround, first and foremost, is 1 month, which usually when I say that to people, they're like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm not. Ours is a 1 month turnaround. Again, you get your full portrait gallery, your cinema films, whether that's the highlight film, the full film, and what I call feature films, your full ceremony, your toasts, your full dances, all of that is all delivered together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the reason why I do that is I don't want couples waiting any longer. And this is something that we do full time. So we're able to create a schedule that allows us to do that. And we only take 25 weddings a year. So that also helps. It's always been a priority for me to get couples' images and films back in a timely manner. I know they're waiting on the edge of their seat for them, and they deserve to have them. So
I mean, I know that there are some photographers that have a quick turnaround. Videographers, I had no idea that you could turn around so fast. I love that. I know.
If you're only listening and not on the YouTube, I just did like a little smirk.
Yeah, she did. She's proud. You should be proud.
Thank you.
I would have loved, I mean, don't get me wrong. I knew going in that the turnaround 6 months, and that's perfectly fine because I knew going in. However, I would have loved to have video at the 1 month mark.
Yeah, I think it probably comes back to our organization on the back end. I have a very specific flow. When we get back from wedding day, it's a strict upload. Then we organize all the film clips, which there's always a ton. So there's organization strategy there. And then within the first week, there's certain benchmarks, I would say, or due dates. And then the next week, we're taking on the highlight film and, so on and so forth. So there's definitely organization there, which allows us to deliver by 1 month. And then it's so fun because the couples are celebrating their 1 month anniversary, and I encourage them to make a date night out of viewing everything. I've had couples, make dinner at home together and then sit down and look through all their portraits and watch their films. Or my more energetic couples, they'll have a full-on viewing party with their immediate family. It's so cute.
Yes, that is super cute.
It's really sweet.
Yes. So. I was so excited to talk to you about your new albums.
Yes.
They're brand new. And again, you're talking about legacy. So why don't you explain to our audience what those albums are?
Yeah. So I am always looking for the best albums. And for the last 5 or so years, I've had the same album type. And I really wanted to amplify them. And the new offering that I have also includes our films. So I wanted something that I could put in the USB drive that hosts my couple's films. It's a beautiful ornate box where you can choose between linen or leather, and I help with the design process. And obviously we typically like to stay within the color range of the wedding design. And I'll take the, monogram or family crest if they have one from the planner. I'll get that file and maybe do like an embossing stamp on the top of the box or inside, and really just use design elements from their wedding day. And when you open the box, a physical album is revealed. So you can pull that out onto your lap.
Wow.
And again, linen or Italian leather engraving, all the beautiful details.
I love it.
When you actually pick up the album and take it out of its box, there is revealed prints alongside with the USB drive or just the USB drive. But it's a beautiful way to, again, preserve those memories and kind of have it all in one place.
Right.
Oftentimes my couples will, like, I see you have one here, your wedding album is here on the coffee table. Yes. And which is a beautiful place for it. I love that you display that. And most of my couples do as well. But when you want to tuck those items away, if you're moving or whatnot, or just keep everything in one place, you have that.
Don't get me wrong. I actually am very nervous to have it right there because I do light a candle. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I do need to put it somewhere super safe, Randi, thank you so much for your time, for coming to the studio today. I would love for you to tell the audience where they can reach out to you, look at your beautiful images, and then hire you for their wedding.
Well, thank you so much for having me. For anyone who would like to reach out, my website is randimichelle.com. I am Randi Michelle Weddings on Instagram and TikTok, and I would love to chat with you about your wedding. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.